Okay, good morning to our weekly live yoga practice. My name's Joanna. If we've not met before, I am a teacher and faculty member at Your Yoga Flow, and I'm also an alumni student with Your Yoga Flow. So it's my pleasure to be here and to hold space for you to practice in. And these classes are really here for you. So feel free to add in the comments any requests for future classes that you might like to tap into. Anything at all, anything that would help your practicum, anything that would help your well-being, anything that would help you with any injury or strain or stress that you might be experiencing at this time. I really want these classes to be curated around what you need. So just let me know. For today's practice, we are going to explore yin yoga and specifically theming the practice around front body expansion. In yoga, as we know, we tend to do a lot of work stretching the back lines of the body, and sometimes the front lines can not feel as well balanced. As well, in general day-to-day life, we do a lot of our work rounding forwards, sitting, driving, working at a computer or a desk. So working into these front lines is going to be so beneficial for our equilibrium and our sense of balance, along with many other benefits that I'll get into during the class. So for class today, you will need a blanket or some kind of soft cushioning. You'll need a bolster, or again, you could choose pillows or cushions. And I also have 2 blocks. So if you have access to 2 blocks, that would be great. Or again, get creative, use more cushions or thick books, whatever you have at home. I'm going to begin with us in a seated Sukhasana. So feel free to find your way there, maybe elevating your pelvis with a prop, maybe sitting with your legs crossed with the blanket underneath. Maybe legs are extended, maybe you're leaning against a wall, maybe you're sitting in a chair. Whatever is your Sukhasana today. And you can rest your hands on your legs with the palms facing down so that we can ground together. And then your eyes can be gently closed or softly drawn down towards the floor so that we are beginning to move inward and release any other distractions from our day. Beginning in this seated pose, I invite you just to acknowledge the front and back spaces of your torso. And as you breathe, notice the spaces of your torso that light up, that expand on your inhale, and the parts of your torso that soften the most on your exhale. Once you have come to these acknowledgements about how your body is in this moment, we can start to add that into our practice, add that awareness into our practice. So you might have noticed in that exercise that you were breathing more in your chest and less in your lower belly. Or maybe you feel like you're breathing more just generally into the upper back and upper chest more than the lower region of the body. Or maybe in general today your breath's feeling a little shorter, not as deep. Maybe there is some aching as you sit in this Sukhasana shape. So simply acknowledging and observing what you've noticed. Let's take this with us into this practice of front body expansion. So let's breathe together now. Take an inhale through your nose and an exhale from the mouth. And an inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. One more time, in and out. And back to a regular steady breath. And I'd love for us to begin in this Sukhasana shape, just in a side body stretch to begin. So as you inhale, float your right arm into the sky and lean to the left with your left hand or left forearm supporting you on the floor. Keep the pelvis anchoring down and extend through your top arm, keeping your chest facing forwards and your shoulders relaxed. Breathe into the stretch, making sure you haven't gone too deep into the stretch where your breath feels short. Instead, be in a stretch where you can still breathe nice and full into the entire length of your side. You can either stay like this or take the top hand behind your head and inhale to look up towards your top elbow, so you're opening more of your chest and shoulders now. And maybe you're looking up. You can stay looking forwards if that feels more comfortable on your neck, or you could even look down if you prefer. Stay here or adding a little more fluidity. So as you inhale, the chest opens a little more to the sky. And as you exhale, you're rounding your back and bringing your elbow towards opposite thigh. And again, inhale to open, looking up. And exhale to round. One more time, inhale to open. Oh, bless me. And exhale to round. And then inhale all the way back to center. And exhale, land your hands. Inhale, lift your shoulders up. And exhale, roll your shoulders back and down. And take a big breath in. And a big breath out. And just notice any differences between the two sides of your torso. As you're ready, second side, inhale the left arm up. Exhale, leaning to the right hand or forearm supporting you on the floor. Chest nice and open, shoulders relaxed, anchored pelvis to the floor. Find the stretch and find lovely steady breath. Stay here or top hand behind the head. Inhale, turn the chest, turn the head to look up towards the sky. Exhale, round the spine, elbow towards opposite thigh. And again, inhale for opening, use the whole inhale to complete the movement. And exhale, draw belly button to spine, elbow towards thigh. One more cycle, inhale to open. And exhale to round. Use your inhale to come all the way back up to a tall seat. And exhale to lower your hands onto your legs. Take a big breath in. And a big breath out. And maybe roll the shoulders up, back, and down. So before we move out of our seat, let's just take a seated cat-cow, just so we can again monitor how the torso is doing today. So on your next inhale breath, tilt your tailbone back, bring your belly and chest forwards, and lift your chin towards the sky. And as you exhale, rounding the back and looking towards your belly button. And again, inhale to open, lifting the heart space. And exhale to round. Last cycle, inhale, coming forwards. And exhale to round. Coming all the way back up to center. Remove any prop that you might be sitting on. Come around to your hands and knees, and maybe place that blanket cushion underneath your knees if you have sensitivity there. We're just going to be here for one shape, which is Anahata Asana, puppy pose. So we're walking the hands forwards and wide, keeping the pelvis nice and high, and melting the chest towards the floor and back towards your thighs. You can lower your forehead to the mat or your chin to the mat, depending on what feels good for you. If this creates too much sensitivity around your shoulders, feel free to bend the elbows more and put more weight onto your forearms. If your chin or forehead don't touch the floor, no problem. You could always put a block there instead. This is also a great prop option for those of you with high blood pressure or dizziness or nausea. You might not want to lower your head below your heart. So offering the block under the forehead allows the head to remain on the same line as the heart. If puppy pose feels really good in your shoulders and chest, you might experiment with coming up onto your finger pads, so more of your arm bones lift off the floor. That can feel great. Or you might try expanding your arms a little wider of one another in a bigger V shape. Or you might like having your arms more parallel, in fact, closer to the sides of your face. Just enjoying what feels like the best stretch for you, while still giving you that steady, soft breath. As you draw your belly button towards your spine, you're massaging your digestive tract here. And with your heart space melting towards the floor, you're breathing life into the front of the lungs, so improving your lung capacity, while also offering a gentle back bend to the spine, a gentle compression. If any of these shapes ever feel too much, please know that you can come out. In yin, we are holding the shapes for a little longer. So feel free to come to child's pose or Shavasana or seated Sukhasana. At any time you need to come back to neutral, you need to return to a place of center. Access those poses whenever you need. From here, we've got 5 more breaths. After 5 breaths, slowly return to your hands and knees and pour out your exhale breath into the floor. Add a little movement into the hips and back. And maybe a nice full exhale again. Coming down onto your front body, bending your elbows, lowering all the way down. Stacking one hand on top of the other and resting your forehead to your hands. Rock your hips and your legs a little side to side. Allowing the back of the hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back to relax. Let's continue on our work of front body expanding. And now we'll come into a quadricep stretch and a hip flexor stretch. So for this, you'll keep your left hand and your forehead to the floor. You'll extend your right arm back behind you. You can bend your right knee and then wrap your right hand around the top of your right foot, encouraging that right heel towards your glutes while trying to keep your knees quite close to one another so the legs don't splay wide. If accessing your foot is not available, you could always grab a strap and hook the strap around the top of that right foot. If this stretch feels a little more effortless for you, you might enjoy pressing the front of your pubic bone into the mat and see if that creates a deeper line of stretch for you into that right hip flexor and down the front of your right thigh. Breathing into the lower belly and relaxing the shoulders. Five more breaths here. And then releasing that right foot back to the floor. Extending both of your arms into a wide T shape. Feel free to put a block or a pillow under your left ear if that feels more comfortable, or rest your head onto your mat. Bring your legs together and then place your right hand on the mat so your right elbow bends. Be mindful here as we come into this stretch, it's for the left shoulder. So we'll give you options if this does not feel great, if you have shoulder sensitivity. So you're pressing into your right hand and you're rolling onto the left side of your body, your right leg stacking on top of your left one. Your left arm is at a 90-degree angle from your body with the palm facing down. However, if this does not feel great, you can either slide that right hand closer to your body so the angle becomes smaller, or you could put that left arm underneath your left ear. So your left hand is reaching to the front of the room. Now you can stay like this, or you can bend into that right knee and place your right foot on the floor behind your left leg. This will turn more of your pelvis and the front lines of your body towards the sky, and it will in turn perhaps deepen the stretch. So just see if that's something you need today. And then the final option is to play with this right hand. You can reach it up to the sky if you feel stable and balanced. Or you might wrap the right hand behind your back and wiggle the right fingertips underneath your left waistband. See how that goes. Wherever you are, you're breathing as fully as you can. You might notice that more of your inhale breath is now expanding into the front of the body. We are creating tiny little releases, or in some cases, profound releases into these front lines. We are creating space, we are dissolving tightness, tension, or compression that we may have been carrying with us in the front of the body. Five more breaths. And when you're ready, lower that right hand to the floor. Stack your legs once again. And very, very carefully come back onto your belly. Try not to move your head yet. Just returning to your front body. Then lower your arms down by your sides, palms facing up. And finally turn your head. So your right ear is to the floor. Your shoulders are rolling forwards and down towards the mat. You're fully exhaling your breath and just allowing the blood to return to that left shoulder. As you're ready, stack your hands one on top of the other, forehead to your hands, and gently rock your hips and your legs a little side to side. And here we go again, second cycle, second side. Your right hand remains on the floor and your forehead stays there. Your left hand reaches behind you. You'll bend your left knee and wrap the left hand around the top of the left foot, or take your strap again and hook the strap around the left foot and hold the strap in your left hand. Heel is coming towards your glutes as best you can, or keeping your thigh bones as parallel to one another as you can. Perhaps pressing the front of your pelvis into the mat a little more. See how that feels. It may intensify the stretch into the front of that left thigh and into the hip flexor. So just play with what is enough. That is always the way in. We never want to force the body too deep, too quickly. But we also don't want to be in a passive shape. There should always be activity. We should always be applying gentle pressure to the body in order to create these pockets of release and space. So just keep monitoring as you stay for time what is enough. Five more breaths. And releasing that left foot back to the floor. Place your arms out in a T. Lower your right ear to the mat or onto your block or cushion. Connect your legs together. And here we come into a stretch for the right shoulder. So again, just monitor how things feel. And if you need to adjust this right arm, feel free. So the left hand is on your mat. You're pressing down into that left hand as you roll onto the right side of your body. You're stacking your left leg on top of your right one. You're here and you're bringing awareness to this right shoulder. Again, maybe you're sliding that right hand further towards your body, down towards your hip if that feels better, or the right arm can come under the right ear. If you're keeping the arm where it is, great. Just make sure you're in stretch and not in any pain. This top leg, your left leg, can bend now if you want, and you can place the left foot behind the right leg to perhaps deepen this twist. You don't have to do any of these options. You simply get off the bus at your stop. These are all just layers to add on or take away. This left hand can stay on the floor, or it can extend up to the sky if you're feeling steady. Or maybe you're wrapping that left arm behind your back. Maybe wiggling those left fingertips under your right waistband. You can soften your eyes to close here once you've found the sweet spot for your body. What is enough for your body today? The reason I wanted us to get into the front spaces of the body today is so that we could find moments of release, first and foremost, because the front of the body houses all our vital organs, and a lot of our vulnerability and softness is in the front spaces of the body. If you think about it, the back of the body provides this wonderful shell, this armor that protects the lungs, the heart, our respiratory system, our digestive system, our reproductive system. When we are moving through day-to-day life, we tend to be in a little more of a protected or protective way or state of being. We're a little more shielded sometimes, perhaps, and our body language can show that. We can be a bit more rounded or folding forwards or closed in. And just in general, with the types of work we do and our daily habits, there's not much opportunity to stretch the front lines of the body. So it's really important that we give ourselves that time in our yoga practice. We give our vital organs the space and prana that they need in order to do their jobs. So this practice not only can provide wonderful release, it can dissolve stress or tension or tightness that we might have been carrying with us, consciously or unconsciously. It's also an opportunity to be reflective and to notice how it feels when we offer our body a bit more space in these vulnerable areas. Let's take 5 more breaths here. And then very slowly, you're going to return your left hand onto the floor where you can see it, and then restack your legs. Slowly roll back onto your front body. Take lots of time with this. Keep your head where it is. Slide your arms down by your sides with the palms face up. And finally turn your head. So left ear is back on the mat or your prop. Your shoulders are rolling forwards and down towards the floor, and you're exhaling your breath. Give yourself time here for the body to find its neutral again. And then plant one hand and the other on the mat near your rib cage. Press back into your tabletop position. Exhale your breath in tabletop and just enjoy a little bit of movement through the hips and back. Maybe you want to cycle through cat-cow. Maybe you circle the hips. Doing anything that feels really instinctive for you in this moment. Maybe you want to just settle back and down into child's pose, Balasana, for a couple of breaths. I always like to invite in these little moments between the poses, in the transitional places, where the student can really use their intuition, make their practice their own, and be in that place of feeling, acknowledging that there's nothing they can do here that is wrong. They're just moving their body in a way that feels good to release that last pose and reset before entering the next pose. And when you're ready, we're going to begin setting up our reclined position. So for this, I'm going to put the blanket under my pelvis. You don't have to do that. You can just lie directly on the floor. I'm also going to put the bolster behind me, along with one block behind the head of the bolster. So now the bolster is on a slight incline. The blanket is going to be just next to the end of the bolster here, so that when I lie down, the back of my pelvis will stay on the cushioning of the blanket. The spine will go along the length of the bolster, as will the back of the head that will be slightly elevated. So this is one option. Another option is no props and just directly lying down on the back in neutral. Great. Or a third option would be to remove the bolster and just use 2 blocks behind you. So you make a T shape with your blocks. This top one is for the back of your head, and the long one is for in between your shoulder blades. And those 2 blocks would sit at the far end of your mat. Again, pelvis would be on the blanket. Upper spine will be on the first block, back of the head will be on the second block. And you can also change the height of that second block if you want the head to be a bit higher. This option with the 2 blocks is a deeper back bend. And because you're using blocks, they are a little firmer. So it's not always comfortable for everybody's back to be in this variation. Also, it can be a bit tricky to get into the first few times if you've never done it before. But once you're in it, and if your spine is enjoying it, it can be a really, really wonderful release. So I'll let you decide which one you want to do. I'll demonstrate all 3 as well in case you're still not sure. So I'll demonstrate with these 2 blocks first. So pelvis is on the blanket. I'm coming down onto my forearms, and then I'm just going to locate that first block that's underneath my back. I'm going to check in that it begins at the bottom of my shoulder blades and rolls up the length of my spine in between the shoulder blades. And then I'll find the second block for the back of my head. Now I like to put the blocks on the same height, that works for me. But if you find that the back of your head is really compressed, the back of the neck, is really compressed, you might have that block a little higher. And then you can bring the soles of your feet together and have your knees wide for butterfly. This would be a great option here. However, you might find that you want to have your legs long and wide like they are in Shavasana. And the arms can be nice and wide of your body with the palms facing up. If that feels too much, hands on the rib cage, elbows to the floor, or arms down by your side with the palms face up like you would in Shavasana. If you're not choosing props, of course, you are directly on the floor for all of this. Again, same variations. Butterfly for the legs, Shavasana for the legs, Shavasana for the arms, or arms in a wide T. Decide which versions work for you. And then the final option is that lovely bolster option, which is the one I'm going to settle in. Bolster, block, and blanket. Blanket for the back of the pelvis, bolster for the spine and the back of the head, and the block for more elevation to the back of the head. So wherever you are, we are in a front body expansion. This is the ultimate place to be, to invite more breath into the front of the body. And you can be really still here, you don't have to move too much. However, for some of you, it might feel nice to get into a bit of a shoulder massage. It might help with shoulder opening and chest opening. So you can play with these movements if they feel good. So the first one is just a couple of sweet shoulder rolls. You're rolling the shoulders up, back and down, massaging the shoulders against your props. Another option is hands on the shoulders, circling the elbows. Or finally, arms extending forwards and up and all the way back behind you. And then arms floating wide and down by your sides. During any of these movements, if it feels good to stop along the pathway and hang out for a couple of breaths, do so. If there's a nice sweet spot that is providing you with a really good stretch, maybe spend a few more breaths there before moving on. And just try your best as you're moving to move with your breath. So anytime you're lifting the arms, elbows or shoulders up, take your inhale breath. And as the arms, shoulders, elbows move down, take your exhale breath. So try and let the breath lead the pace of the movement, using the full length of the inhale to rise up. And waiting for the exhale before you start to lower down. And let's take 5 more breaths here. And when you've completed 5 breaths, you can simply lift your way up or roll to one side to remove any props. Meeting in Shavasana with maybe a bolster under the knees, maybe something cushioned behind the head, maybe a blanket over the body, perhaps the palms wide on the floor, legs rolling out a little more. And as you float into Shavasana, enjoying the inhale breath and its expansion into the front lines of your body, and observing the exhale breath helping you to soften and surrender into the floor. Acknowledging that there is no more to do, and I'll call you from Shavasana when it's time. If you have more time today, feel free to stay in your Shavasana as long as you need. However, if it's time for you to come out, start to deepen your breath and wiggle your fingers and toes. And roll your wrists and ankles. Take a Nice long full body stretch as you inhale. And as you exhale, hug your knees into your chest. Rock on your back until you roll onto your side. And just take a few more breaths on your side body. When you're ready, slowly rolling up to a tall seat of Sukhasana. Resting your hands back on your thighs just as we began the practice. Still with your eyes closed or gaze down towards the floor. And once again, just simply notice the front and the back spaces of your torso. Notice how you're breathing now. Notice how it feels to sit. May we be reminded of the importance of balance and equilibrium in this body, in this vessel. May we make time for practices such as this, for more front body expansion. Maybe in turn we'll feel more open to receive, to give. Maybe we'll allow ourselves to be a little more vulnerable, a little lighter. Maybe opening the body in this way will allow us to make choices from the heart. Whatever benefits you're taking from this practice, may they stay with you as you step off your mat and into the rest of your day. And may they not only benefit you, but may there be this ripple effect outwards. May others notice and feel your lightness, your brightness, your vibrancy. Thank you so much for your time today. It was my pleasure to guide you. Namaste.